Okay, Kevin Bjorklund. I said I wouldn't make a hiccup on that, but already did. But thanks so much for coming on today. Welcome, Kevin, to the audience. I'm going to just start with a brief background just to give you guys a bit of an idea of what's to come. So Kevin's background is in film production, but after school, he worked for various ministry organizations and spent a large amount of time interviewing people all over the world. This motivated him to learn why people did what they did and what led them to people living a life of fulfillment, happiness, and success. So you can probably guess why he's on Mastering You. Kevin spent the last 10 years studying the greats on personal development and success, which ultimately led him to a coaching program with the great Bob Proctor. We'll get to that in a moment, who is a part of a legacy of leaders in this space of personal development, success, and mindset. After being coached by him, Kevin became a consultant of the Proctor Gallagher Institute and has dedicated himself to helping people live a life of purpose, mastering their mindset, and tapping into their full potential. Wow, Kevin, you are definitely qualified to talk on Mastering You. Welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've got a list of questions. As you can imagine, I love to geek out on all this stuff, and I'm just going to get straight into it. So firstly, I just told you just before we started that my whole reason for starting this podcast is to sell people on personal development. Okay. So I'd like to hear from you as someone that's been in this space for 10 years, that has studied with the greats, and we'll get into some of those greats like Bob shortly. But why should people take personal development seriously, Kevin?
Well, I mean, it's a great question. And, the answer is, I think, pretty simple, but it's like, if an individual doesn't take responsibility for developing themselves, who is? And that's really the end of the day. I can only control my life to the degree that I take responsibility for developing myself. And I think a lot of people don't dive into this world because there's these, again, it all comes back down to mindset, what they think or believe. And, that a lot of people have this idea, like, I'm capped, like I have a certain, hand of cards, a poker and metaphor analogy is, I've been dealt this hand, and now the rest is up to what comes, on the, in poker, it's the turn, the flop, the turn, and the river. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to take my hand, and then we're just going to see what happens. We're going to see what life gives me in relation to what I've already been given. And then that's just going to play out my life, not knowing that that's not how life is. And we can study successful people. We can study people who have, gone on to achieve great things. And we look at their life, and they didn't start from, massive success. A lot of people started from down and out, broke, horrible backgrounds, but they rose to levels of achievement. And that wasn't on accident. That wasn't luck. It was intentionally working on their life, on their mindset, on their skill sets. And that is what ultimately leads people to success. But it starts with taking personal responsibility for developing, first and foremost, mindset, second, skill sets.
Nice.
Yeah.
You use the term helping people live life on purpose. What do you mean by that? For the layman, for the layperson that's new to kind of thinking about really making some changes in their life and thinking, what, I need to grow myself. I need to grow myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. How does this link in with doing that?
Fantastic. So, we use the term on purpose. I'm doing this on purpose. And, what I work with when I work with my clients is, how do you live on purpose daily if you don't have a purpose that you've identified? And I believe everyone has a specific particular purpose. I believe everyone is uniquely gifted. And within that gifting, within that specific design, there is a purpose. And I believe that purpose is always connected to people. I believe, and that's where I think you have this beautiful harmony of achievement and fulfillment. So, again, I think there's this tension between living life on purpose and then earning a profit. And I think those two things are married. I think when someone really identifies their purpose, which is connected to people, they can make a massive profit. And here's why. One of the greats, Earl Nightingale, he said that the law of compensation is this. I'm sure you and I really can geek out on universal laws. Well, here's the law of compensation. Your rewards in life are an exact ratio to your contributions or service. He said it another way. Your rewards in life are an exact ratio to the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty in replacing you. So when someone can lock into their purpose in relation to helping people, they can laser in on how to do this on a daily basis and impact the most amount of people. So for instance, and I'll get back to the original question, you said, let's just say someone had a goal of earning $1 million a year. My mentor, Bob Proctor, says people don't make $100,000 a year because they want to. They make $100,000 a year because they don't know how to make $100,000 a month. If you knew how to make $100,000 a month, you'd way rather make $100,000 a month than $100,000 a year, right? Like everyone would say yes to that. Most people don't believe it's possible, but it is. The other side of that is, in order to earn $1 million a year, you have to provide $1 million worth of value. That's the only way to do that. And so when you start asking those questions, you can say, okay, how can I provide $1 million worth of value to people? And then you start to examine your unique giftings. And so here's where we'll get into purpose. I believe, again, everyone has a particular purpose. And I believe that stems from the way that they were designed. And I have an acronym for everybody listening. So design. When you're thinking, you may be asking yourself right now, what's my purpose? I want to take you through the design framework. Design stands for your drivers. First and foremost, what drives you? There's certain things in life that when you do them, they actually give you more energy. Then there's things that you do in life and they kind of just like, it doesn't really energize you, doesn't really drain you. It's probably things that you're good at, but you don't come alive in those things. And then there's things that you do and they just drain you. You do it and you're like, oh. And now that can't be, parenting or, all that kind of stuff. That stuff naturally it's hard work sometimes, but it's ultimately fulfilling. I'm talking about things in life that you.
Can I butt in there?
Yeah, please butt in.
So this is something that comes up a lot in coaching for me.
Yeah.
And so I think, so one of the things that we hear a lot of in the personal development space, and something most people know about, is when you're experiencing struggle, or something does feel like a drainer. It's something that drains you. How do you differentiate between the things that's a sign of growth? So if there's pain involved, if there's like, I guess exercise is a good example. Like, we know that exercise can be hard. If you're lifting a heavier weight, then that's tough. Some of our members at the moment are getting to doing things like OCR racing and mud running, and that's something that's tough, but the benefit is the growth that comes with it. How do we differentiate between those tasks that are draining and things that maybe we just have to do, but also that there's actually growth present, and the benefit will outweigh the draining of it?
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal question. And I think there's a big part of, ultimately anything can be growth. Anybody can take at any moment, and this is the law of polarity. The law of polarity states that everything has an opposite. So, you can't have a left without a right. You can't have up without down. You can't have inside without outside. It's this law of polarity. So that would also mean you can't have something good without something being bad, and you can't have something be bad without there being good in it. And the main thing is perspective. So, for instance, working out is a great analogy. Most people don't enjoy going to the gym, like right off the bat. It can be inconvenient. It can be tough, but you usually never find someone leaving the gym saying like, man, I regret doing that.
Yeah, never,
because it feels good. And so,
I guess that's the answer, right, Kevin, is if whatever you do is kind of draining or it's hard at the time, but the fulfillment factor after it is higher than the level that you left it, then that's probably a sign that that's something that's tough and hard that you want to be leaning into more often.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And so, I think this could go a lot of different directions that I don't really want to take it. I think that's the best way to look at it is, if certain things are actually good for you, but they're probably not going to feel good going into it, but that they're going to be good coming out of it. For instance, should I play, and I don't know what games are popular right now, but, should I play this game on my phone, or should I read a book that is helping me become better at what I'm doing to achieve my goal? I mean, of course, like there's this lean towards I'm just going to let my mind rest. I'm going to play the game, but the other one's going to bring more satisfaction long-term.
I guess I was exploring that particular. I know it's only the first step in your acronym, but it's as a business owner, and we do have a lot of business owners that listen to this podcast. That is one that I've struggled with because we're always being told as business owners, and particularly by my own mentor, the art of delegation and making sure that we are delegating. But I often struggle sometimes with what I should be delegating, because I know there are certain really important things that I should do, and they drain me. I have no passion for them, but I know I've got to do them. Yeah. And then that's one of those that I often battle with in my mind is like, do I need to get over this and just grow a pair and do it? Or is this a sign that I need to delegate, Well,
and so the reality is, eventually probably should delegate, but there may be seasons where we can't in business. We may not be at the scale yet where we can, hire someone to delegate the things that we need to do. So looking back at that law of compensation, you've kind of got three parts. Now business owners would be able to break this into more, but you've got the need for what you do, which is marketing and sales, right? So there's that. And then you've got your ability to do it, which is your ability to deliver on the things that you've marketed and sold. And then the difficulty in replacing you is retention, the things that you do for your customers that no one else can do. And so those all three work together. And so, you've kind of got those three phases of the business. I'm prospecting, I'm marketing, and I'm getting people in the door, selling them on my service or product or whatever it is, and then, or the deliverable that I'm going to give them. And then I deliver it to the best of my ability. And then I do things for my customers that no one else would do, so that they want to keep coming back, from a financial side, spending more, which means they're going to get more from me, more results. And so you've got those three. So you have to be developing those all the time. I have to be improving my ability to market and sell. I need to be improving my ability to deliver. And so studying and learning and growing. And then I've got to think about ways that I can serve my customer better than any other person out there, depending on what business you're in. And so all of those require time and attention and focus and mindset. And so once a business grows or develops enough to where they have enough sales coming in and they're delivering, then the business grows, because one person can't manage all of those things. And so the best thing a business owner could do is identify what's the first thing I'm going to delegate that's going to continue to produce the results that we're getting in any three of those areas and allows me to do what I love. Because if you don't continue to do what you love, you're literally just exhausting yourself in a job that you've created.
Yeah.
And you're not able to fully live within that design that you've been given. And so at some point, it's going to come back on you.
I think that's a great point that you mentioned earlier about having the self-awareness around your energy levels towards certain things. So let's get straight back to your acronym. So
Sure.
I'll try not to interrupt you again.
No, not at all. Please do. I love the conversation more than anything. And hopefully, as your audience is listening, they're taking notes or thinking about their own life in terms of, okay, how does this apply to me exactly? So we've got the D for design, which is their drivers. The things that you do in life that give you energy when you're done with them, kind of just, keep you at zero or drain you. Then you've got E, your experiences in life. And so this can stem all the way back into childhood. And a lot of times it does. And this definitely impacts mindset. But also there's things that happened in your life that were pivotal moments for you. And they were pivotal because they connected with who you are as a person, the uniqueness to you. And so these could be great experiences and events, or they could be traumatic. They could be, but when you look back on your life and you look at key moments of your life, things that really shaped you, you want to tap into, asking the question, why? What was in that? Tony Robbins talks about, life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. His example was when it was like Thanksgiving or something, and just horrible home environment, no money, they weren't going to eat, and someone delivered a Thanksgiving meal to them. Tragic event, it was his fourth dad at the time, and just really was upset with the person delivering the food. Tony was sitting there like 7 or 8, thinking like, we got food, like this is a great thing. But it had a lot of heartache to that moment. They did get fed. They did have a Thanksgiving meal. Decades later, he was able to provide that same, or a decade later, he was able to provide that same experience, bringing food to a home who was really, and so he said that moment, that was my worst moment in my life, became my best moment in life.
Yeah.
So you look at those experiences and they kind of drive our behavior. So you've got that. So that's a piece of it, is your experiences, things that shaped who you are and why you do what you do. Then you've got S, your skill sets and knowledge. So at this point, everyone who's listening, you think about, okay, what skill sets and knowledge have you developed up to this point? So for me, I'll tell you a story. I graduated film school, went to work for a ministry organization, did an internship, went on staff there, really cut my teeth, became really good at certain elements of filmmaking, editing, the whole process, had to kind of learn it all. And then transitioned from there and got hired on at another organization that traveled all around the world. So I was traveling Afghanistan, Iraq, Egypt, Burma, Turkey, all of these places, getting to use my skill set in media to interview people, which I loved. I loved learning about people, understanding their stories. We were working in Iraq with the Syrian refugees that were coming over during that time. So like hearing these amazing stories, and the purpose of me making these videos was to generate an emotional response in people watching them so that they would give to help these people. So I had this, but so it's like dream life, right? 25, single, traveling all over the world, meeting tremendous people, experiencing cultures and different worlds and the way people lived. And so I loved it. But during that time, this was one of my thoughts. I do not want to be a 40-year-old video guy. So at the same time, I'm loving life, but I'm also more focused on what I don't like. It was the skill set that I was so fixated on a skill set or knowledge that I didn't want to define me. Does this make sense?
I understand. Yeah.
So I was like, man, I don't want to be a 40-year-old video guy. I was having a great time. I enjoyed doing what I was doing, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, where is this taking me? So fast forward nowadays, that skill set, I was so fixated on just the video production side. I wasn't aware of all of the other things that came with that skill set. The ability to ask great questions, the ability to get someone to really not just like tell me information, but tell me like why they're feeling this way, why they're doing what they're doing. That helps me tremendously in coaching, or even when I'm talking with somebody who may want to hire me as a coach, I can actually get to the root cause before we ever move forward in something. But then also being able to communicate in a way that connects with people emotionally. These are skill sets that I wasn't even aware of, but I was so fixated on the skill set that I didn't want to define me. So I have a lot of people be like, well, what if the skill set that I've developed isn't something I want to do long-term? I don't want this to define me. There's so many other things within what people have learned and experienced that really connects with the previous two, your design, your drivers and your experience and the skill sets. So it's not
just on that one, just to interrupt you again. Do you find that a common issue people, or a common challenge that people have, is because they've been so time invested in a certain skill set that they have built that as their identity, that becomes something that they struggle from a mindset point of view to think, well, I've spent 10 years on this, like it's too late now, like I'm 45, I can't build another skill set now. This pays the mortgage, and this feeds the children, this feeds the kids and the family. I'm unfulfilled doing it, but it's defined me.
100%. Absolutely. I think it's a trap. I think oh man, like it's never too late. It's never too late. There's probably good strategies on how to exit something in a way that won't create just massive anxiety and stress. But it doesn't mean, one, it can't happen, and it doesn't mean that it can't happen way sooner than a person thinks. That's even why I really coached on living your life on purpose, like aligning your purpose with profit, because those two things should come together. When you're serving people at a very high level, the fruit of that is profit, it's impact. And so because people will pay you to produce results, right? And so there's a lot of behind that, but I think a lot of people get in the trap of just doing what they're doing because it doesn't even really profit. But I say profit in terms of like, it's paying the bills. It's just getting us by. It's doing what we need it to do to maintain the lifestyle that we're living.
But that's a good way of thinking, or helping someone out of that trap, though, isn't it? Is instead of thinking, what can I do differently, or what can I do new, what can I do that would serve better, create more value, create bigger impact, and make that the starting point, and then work backwards.
Is a lot of the audience entrepreneurial or business minded?
Yeah, a little bit of a mix, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, I think this impacts everyone. So it's not just business, but more and more as I study, the ability to narrow down, a niche is the more niched you are, the more impact you can create. And now, as you get great at producing results for a very niched group of people, that will continue to expand. But so, for instance, I'll share mine. I really, really come alive when I'm working with people who want to turn their purpose into profit, and they are a first generation within their family who would be like, they're basically the trailblazers of their family. For me, like almost no one in my family had their own business. They were just employees. Like I get so excited of leaving a legacy for my great grandchildren. So I love working with the people who are like, they want to be a trailblazer. They want to be a pioneer of purpose in their family heritage. Like that's who I come alive working with. And so, when people are thinking, okay, what is my purpose? And then who are the people that I can impact the most with what I have been given or my design?
Yeah.
So that the drivers, the experience, the skill sets and knowledge. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. So what's where are we up to? I.
Okay. So we're on I. So interests, things that interest you.
Yeah.
A lot of people disregard this as like, this is an afterthought. But no, it's super important, because the things that interest you don't necessarily interest me, but they definitely interest other people. And those interests are what's going to give you this commonality with the people you're called to impact. And so, if we just glaze over it and we don't even really identify what are the things that make me come alive, those are going to be the things that like attract to me the people who I can impact the most. So, and that's fun, that's like exciting. What makes me me? And there's a lot of other people, not everybody, but there's some people out there that are interested in the same things I'm interested in.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So then we go to G, your giftings. These are the things that come very naturally to you that don't come naturally to other people. So specifically, for me, I was a weird kid. I was super strange, in my opinion. I loved to organize things from a
what does G stand for? I missed that.
Giftings.
The
gotcha. Things that you're gifted in. So for me as a kid, I loved organization. No one had to teach me that. It wasn't like my parents weren't. I would organize my parents' pantry. So like I would take all the Campbell's soup cans out and I would organize.
Wow, I bet your parents loved you.
They loved me. I was the only boy and I was the youngest. Talk about tremendous favor. But I loved, like, I would organize the Campbell's tomato soups and then the chicken noodle soups. And I would do that with every shelf. And then I would go to the cupboard, or whatever, the desk drawer, and I would organize the pens and the pencils and the markers, and they all had their own spot. To me, it's just the way I'm wired. I consider that a gift. I love system and structure and organization, which is why I love coaching within a framework, because like, to me, it just simplifies it for people. I can take you through 12 steps to get you identifying with your purpose, setting a goal, and achieving profit, because it's a system and it works for everybody. But that comes naturally. People are like, how do you do that? And those are kind of the things that's like, I know I developed it, but it was also always there. You know what I'm saying? And everyone has those.
Yeah.
So
what you're born with.
Yeah, it's something you're born with. And so, and again, that kind of drives you. So organizing something might drain somebody.
Yeah.
For me, I feel energized. And so those are things to take note of. And so that's giftings. And then, your at the N is your nature or your temperament, the way that you're wired. And so comes into personality for sure. Like when you're naturally, authentically you'll communicate differently. You won't be thinking about how do I need to communicate here. If you're being authentically you and you're talking about and doing things that you love, your natural is going to come out. Now that can obviously be developed and be honed and be improved upon. But you don't want to shy away from how you are designed, that natural personality,
Yeah.
but comparison's a killer. So if I start comparing myself against people, I may start to think, oh, if only I did this more like them. But if that's contrary to my nature, I'm actually going to take myself in a direction I don't want to go. I'll be less.
Yeah, it feels like that there's never been a time where, like, it feels like now more than ever, that last one, that, being your authentic self, being natural is it feels like more of a challenge than ever for people.
Yeah. Because everybody's exposed, everybody's online, it's always been there. Elementary school, you're thinking, I don't want to stand out. I don't want to be made fun of. But it's not like that idea goes away. We're just told to grow up, and yet now we're more exposed than ever online. And we have that same idea lives in what are people going to think about what I'm passionate about? For me, it was a big, I was going from a leadership role in an organization, overseeing a team of creatives, and, I oversaw a creative department, tech department, all related to my background. And I wanted to go full-time coaching. But that idea comes into your mind like, well, what are other people going to think? What are other people going to say? And that can prevent a lot of people from taking action on their dream.
No, it's fantastic. I've got to say, obviously, in the personal development world, acronyms are quite popular, and I've heard a lot of acronyms since I started this podcast. I've got to say, yours is one of my favorites. I really like that. I'm gonna get that down and put that in the show notes for people, and put that. I think that's fantastic. I'm assuming you kind of, like we all do in personal development, you created that off the back of your own experiences in what you learned along the way.
Here's what I've learned: get phenomenal mentors. So that one came from my mentor, but the reason that person was my mentor is because I resonated with that. For me, it was like, that's exactly what I'm, it's all linked to. And that's a big part of this that I believe is so pivotal that people aren't doing. And it's getting a coach, a mentor, somebody who's been where you want to be, and follow them and do exactly what they say. So that is something I can say. Like, I can't say like, man, I'm super awesome. But I can say that I have learned that the people who do that, the people who say, this is what I want to do, and now instead of just trying to figure it out myself, I'm going to go model somebody who's done it. And so I have, 2 mentors, I would say more, but that I've done that exact thing where it's like, I'm just going to follow you. I'm going to do what you say. I'm going to follow the framework. And
I think that's huge. I think that is very, very important. And that's come up quite often lately, is the importance of mentors. And my prediction is that's going to happen as well. I think people are going to start, it feels to me like typically it's more typical that a business owner, entrepreneur will seek mentors, and they maybe use people in the personal development space. But it feels like personal development is becoming more mainstream. People are understanding the benefits of self-awareness, of understanding how important it is to understand why we have the behaviors that we have, because ultimately the more we can control them, we can control our outcomes and our actions better. Mm-hmm. And I think just like having a personal trainer 25 years ago was like maybe just for the celebrities of the world, or it wasn't even a thing maybe 25 years ago. When I started 15 years ago, it was really more of a thing that celebrities had. And now, your mum Mary down the road and everyone's got a PT. It's become acceptable. It's become part of life really, for people to have a coach in the fitness space. But I think in the mindset, personal development space, I do think that's going to become more of a mainstream idea. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I think that's where the world is such a different place than it used to be. I mean, the internet has made everybody accessible to everybody. So what does that mean? It means that there is there's a less of a barrier to entry, but there's also a way greater demand to be the best. And so that's why it's so important to really identify your authentic self, because I can't be, nor do I want to be Tony Robbins or Bob Proctor or any of these, but I do want to be mentored by a certain person who can help me grow into that, authentic me, but develop the skills and all of those things that I need to, because I want to help more people. But for the people now that are going to be attracted to me are going to be attracted to that design. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because everybody's available.
So important, because it's, again, it is similar to a PT or fitness coach. Most good personal trainers, that there's lots of themes that they're going to look at the basics. They're going to look at someone's movement before they even start training them. They're going to ask them, what their past history is. Do they have any injuries? Do they, what's their stability strength like? They're going to start to put them through movement assessments and then build things up slowly. And, so it's all about the core foundations. And, from talking to lots of people in the personal development stage, personal development space, lots of coaches will very much do the foundations as well. They'll help people drill down their core values, that they'll help people drill down their purpose. What is their magic? What is their gift? Like you said. And so it's a question of what you might not find a coach that has got some unique strategy, but who connects with you, who do you feel like you can really talk to and trust?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and there could even be, you could have a whole audience of people and you could have a really hoorah coach that it could be really great for someone, come on, you can do better. That kind of like, but someone may not resonate with that, but another person, that may be exactly what they need to push a little bit further. The other person might need like, hey, you've got this. I see it in you, and it's more encouraging, and it's pulling out that greatness more than like pushing it. And then you have, it might be a man or a woman with both of those personalities, and you keep narrowing down, like niching down, and there might be like one just that stands out above the rest, that all of them may have the exact same techniques. They may have the same amount of people who are getting, results, but there's a uniqueness to this one that resonates with you. And so now that's what the internet's done. That's what the world's done. Like, and this applies to every industry now. It could be a mom, a stay-at-home mom who loves to cook, and she's got these recipes and she just wants to share it with other moms who are, how do I manage my home and take care of some things, and my, whatever, single or whatever. And it could be mom or dad or whatever. I'm not generalizing who would be doing that, but so they may have something, this unique, how to make these recipes. They're short, they don't take a long time, they're perfect, they're healthy. And it's exactly what, some of these other moms or dads are looking for, because they're in the sim. And now they have a business because they have an audience that's all over the world. People could come and find their product and their personality and their process and their all of that. And so it really is so important to, one, what's your identity? Understand that takes mindfulness, it takes thinking. And then also like a strong mindset, like I can do this, I can have this, I can be this. And that also requires mentoring and accountability and coaching.
That leads into a question I was going to have around one of the topics that you talk about, which is something we've spoken about a few times on this podcast, but I'd love to kind of get your take on the law of attraction. I'd also, just from a selfish point of view, love to ask you a little bit about Bob Proctor himself. For sure. Because I don't, even though I've studied a lot of personal development, I really only know Bob from the Secret he was in.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm sure lots of our listeners have heard of the Secret, of quite a famous film. One of the few ones that really, like in personal development space, I suppose, that really kind of blew up and,
Yeah.
and probably divided people somewhat as well, because there's lots of different ideas around the Secret and probably some misinformation as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So let's talk. I'll do it all. I'll do it all
Yeah,
for
let's
you.
go for it.
So the Secret one, just that is based off of a book that was written in 1903. And it was called, I don't know why it's spacing my mind, The Science of Getting Rich. Okay. So that was the book. And Rhonda Byrne found that book and was like, what in the world? Like, why don't more people know this? AKA, The Secret. So, and that book was written by Wallace D. Wattles.
I didn't
So
know that. I've
yeah,
got The Science of Getting Rich, and I didn't know that.
yes. Yeah. So that's that. And Bob Proctor has been in this industry for so long. He's 87 years old. He is from Canada. During the Depression, was a boy, and so really there was no idea of personal development or like that you could change your life. It was just kind of like, this is the way life is. So he went from job to job to job. By the way, I'll take a step back. I started studying Bob Proctor after all the other guys that I studied, and I went all in. Like, I hired a guy on Fiverr to make me a list of all of the videos Bob had ever done, with like what the title was, how long it was, and then a notes section. And I was committed. I'm going to watch every video and I'm going to reverse engineer Bob Proctor. I'm going to figure out everything he teaches, everything he does, the way he communicates, how he communicates, all of this. So guy did it.
Wow.
There was 510 videos on their YouTube channel, and I had how long. And so I sorted them by shortest to longest, and I got to work. So every morning at like 4 a.m., I would just Bob time. And so I would study, I would take notes. If he said, watch this again, which if you study Bob Proctor, one of his big things is repetition is the law of learning. Repetition is the key. We know this in sports and all that, but when it comes to learning, we usually want to consume quantity instead of really digging in and repeating a lesson over and over, which I'll get to. But so anyways, did this whole thing, I got to the videos that were about an hour long, or an hour and a half. And so sometimes he would say, before you go on to the next lesson, repeat this video. So I would watch that hour and a half video again. I made it through 210 videos, and I was like up one night and I was just thinking, like, I don't even really know like Bob Proctor's organization. Like, I just kind of just consumed. So I was online, like,
were you making
Proctor
notes through all of this? Is this?
Yeah, I was. Oh yeah, I was taking notes. I was connecting dots. Oh, in this video he said this, and this is, and oh, this was his mentor. Oh, here was another one of his mentors. Oh, he mentioned this book. So my Amazon account was also growing because I was like buying books that he recommended. I was just going deep. And so I was very expectant, obviously. So then I found myself on his website, and I was signing up for something I didn't even know what it was. I was pumped. I was like, oh my gosh, like now they have my name. Of course I knew it was like a sales call.
Yeah.
So he also, another one of Bob's lessons is, decision. This comes from Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. He said the commonality behind all of like the 500 people, the most successful people in the world that he interviewed personally, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, all these guys, Andrew Carnegie was the one who commissioned that project in the first place. They all made quick decisions and changed their minds slowly, if ever. And then he interviewed 2,000 other people who considered themselves to be unsuccessful. And their commonality was that they made decisions very slow and they changed their mind quickly and often. So I was like, and I knew it was a sales call signing up for this thing, but I was excited. And I was like, I'm doing it. I don't know what it costs. I don't care. Like, this is my next step. I need to have this information organized into a plan for me, not just random. And so sure enough, got on the sales call. I told the guy, like, hey, listen, you don't even have to do anything. I'm in. And he's like, well, let me explain like what we do. And I was like, okay, perfect. So signed up. That was my first one. And then I just kind of went all in. Like I wanted to be mentored by Bob directly. Long story short, law of attraction. Found myself on a phone call with my coach and Bob. I did not set this up or organize it. Bob started drilling me with some questions. And he was like, hey, listen, here's my cell phone number. Give me a call if you need anything. That's the law of attraction.
Wow.
That was my goal. That's what I wanted. And it happened. And I did not have to do anything to get it. I didn't orchestrate these events. I didn't have to ask, hey, do you think I could ever get on, surely I'm not going to like ask him. He gave me his number. So the point is, the law of attraction is a secondary law to the law of vibration. Have you heard this before?
Yeah, but let's go for it.
Okay. So the law of attraction basically states that your belief is attracting what you believe to you. So if you can see it in your mind, there's quotes like this. If you can see it in your mind and believe it in your heart or your subconscious mind, then you can achieve it in your life, or you can have it in your hands. But most people don't know how to create belief. So to break this down, it's way easier with like drawing it on a whiteboard, but I'll do it visually for you and for the audience. We as human beings, we think in pictures. So right now, as you're listening to this, I want you to think about your house that you grew up in when you were 10 years old. Now tell me how many windows are in that house. What's happening right now? You are literally in your house.
Yeah.
When you were 10 years old. Everything we think in pictures. Same thing, I could say, hey, what's in the back seat of your car right now? It's wild that we can do this. You literally have a picture flash on the screen of your mind, and you can go in the back seat. And you may have something where you're like, oh no, that was actually last week. I moved that. What's in my car? Okay. And then you see that picture, right? So it's like, so we think in pictures. Here's the problem. What do you think of when I say the mind? Most people don't have a picture.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah,
nothing. It's like, and so that's confusing. And so how are we able to change our mind if we don't even have a picture of our mind? Really difficult. This concept came from a scientist in 1934 named Thurman Fleet. So he was like, okay, everything's starting in the mind, and all of the problems that we're experiencing are coming from the mind. And so I need to be able to create a picture. So this is the picture. It's a big circle with a line through it. That's the mind. And then below that is a little circle, and that's the body. And it's, it looks like a stick figure with a big head.
Yeah.
Well, the conscious mind is on the top. The subconscious mind is on the bottom. The conscious mind is where our senses are connected to. So we can see, we can hear. This is bringing information in. And then the conscious mind has mental muscles. So this is going to be fascinating and great for you, because people know, like if I hold up, my arm and I say, what's this muscle? And I point to my bicep, they'll say that's your bicep. And, I can point to the bottom, and they could say, well, that's your tricep. And there's this awareness that I can develop my muscles if I do some things right.
Yeah.
Go to the gym, work it out, get a trainer. I can actually develop. Everybody can do that. Doesn't matter where you start out, you can develop those muscles. Same thing with these mental muscles. But if we don't know what they are, we can't develop them. So the 6 mental muscles of the conscious mind are your imagination, intuition, perception, memory, reason, and will. So, you'll hear people say, I have a horrible memory. No, it's just undeveloped. Oh, I'm not creative at all. No, it's just an undeveloped imagination. Oh, I just can never just stick to something. That's just undeveloped will. And the list goes on.
And some, just like some people are naturally born with bigger biceps or bigger leg muscles, some people will have developed some of those mind muscles better than others.
They may have started out, but everyone needs to develop them as well. So that's the conscious mind. Now, the key about the conscious mind, this is the intellectual mind, and it can accept or reject any information, right? That's really key. The subconscious mind below that line, that is the emotional mind. The ancient Greeks called it the heart. If you read the Bible, there's a verse from King Solomon, who's the wisest man on the planet ever to live. His worth was like in the trillions back in Bible times. Like he was the man. And he said, guard your heart with all diligence. Out of it overflows the issues of life. What he was saying is, if something gets to the subconscious mind, it's going to control you. So here's the key about the emotional mind, the heart. It can't reject. It can only accept. So it's like soil. The conscious mind creates ideas. The subconscious mind accepts ideas. And so that emotion, the emotional connection to an idea is what takes it from conscious to subconscious. Here's the problem. From 0 to 7, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, the conscious mind's undeveloped. So everything that's happening or being said or coming in through stimulus is going straight down to subconscious. So most people are unaware of that, for one, and they're living out of a belief system that they never created. Came from environment, from parents, caretakers, friends. These ideas went straight to subconscious, and now their entire life they're fighting what they believe with what they know, but what they believe takes over. This is why we talk about you need to have a paradigm shift. Well, here's the deep part of this. Are you okay if we just geek out on this?
Mate, I'm all in. I'm in
Me
flow
too.
just listening.
Me too. So the emotion, so we know as we study this stuff that all things are energy. Everything is energy in motion. So and that's all things. The desk, my phone, my body, all things, everything is composed of energy, and energy is in a constant state of motion. And so that state of vibration is what attracts things to it. So for instance, you've got an acorn, and an acorn is a specific, it's a very specific thing with a dedicated DNA plan. Right? Like it's not an acorn is an acorn is an acorn. It's never going to produce anything else but what is in the acorn. So it's a specific energy in a state of vibration. Now, if I put the acorn on your desk, how many years will it take to produce an oak tree? It never will turn into an oak tree. It can't. Why? It's in the wrong environment. But you take that acorn and you put it in the soil, it's the same acorn in the same state of vibration, and now it's attracting to it all the things that it needs to become the oak tree.
That's a great analogy. Yeah.
Okay, so that's Bob gets the credit. He learned it from his mentors and everyone, but I love to be a person that passes it on because it's so powerful. Because here's how it relates. Our conscious mind is the most powerful thing on the planet. Nothing else other than humanity has been given the power to think. Here's why that's powerful. Ideas are seeds. They have a specific DNA, they have a specific patterned plan, that idea, right? Thoughts that are composed, and it gives a mental image. And that image or that idea is just like an acorn. It has a specific plan associated to it. And when that is, if it just stays in as an idea, it'll never produce anything. That's why people say ideas are a dime a dozen. Like everybody has ideas. Not everybody has belief. What's the thing that produces an idea into a reality is belief. That's the subconscious mind. That's the soil. That's the heart. That's where the law of vibration takes place. That belief physically causes your body to change its state of vibration. This was
it's the environment, the importance of the environment to the idea that helps create the belief.
which is why coaching programs, gym memberships can be instrumental, because it's not just you, you're surrounded with people with a common belief. That's culture, right? Group belief is culture. So, so you're taking this idea and you're now going from conscious to subconscious, and that's literally changing the state of vibration that you're in, your physical body. So this was proven. There was a Russian photographer named Semyon Kurlian. He developed photography that could capture the energy leaving a person's body.
Wow.
And as the emotional state changed, the vibration or the energy leaving the person's body changed in both color and density. Pretty cool. So you can imagine, so I'll tell a story. When I was a kid, I watched a movie. I don't know if it was like, all over, maybe some of the audience has seen it. It was called The Never Ending Story. Old school, like 80s movie. So there was a part in this movie where this, like, I honestly don't really remember much about this movie, but I remember this. It scared me. It was like a wolf creature that like was in this like rock. And as this person or this kid was getting closer, that you could see just the yellow eyes, and then boom, then he appeared. So I lived in a house growing up when I was young that had like a basement. It was like a basement, but it had just like windows at like eye level, And so when I would go downstairs at night, my imagination would take off, and I would hesitate, kind of like, so I didn't want to look out the window because I didn't want to see that wolf creature, but I was so curious that I was like, so I would like look at the window, and I would have this like expectation, like, because I saw it in that image was so vivid, I would imagine seeing these yellow eyes. And of course, I was never going to see these yellow eyes, but it became so real as I would look at it. I was staring at the window and like expecting until it was just too much, and I ran upstairs. That's literally what happens with everybody when they fixate on an idea, both good and bad. And that's why most people, they'll like, you hear all about power, like power affirmations, confessions, all these things. The problem is most people never experience the fruit of their affirmations because they have not associated a picture of themselves being, doing, or having the thing that they want, which is why vision boards are so important. But as you fixate on that picture of being, doing, or having the thing that you desire, and that's your will, developing your will to fix on that, and you actually get to the place where you can see it and you can imagine being in possession of the thing that you desire, it will physically change your state.
Like, so you mentioned vision boards there. Are there any other practical strategies that listeners can implement?
Honestly, just tapping into your imagination. Another one. So let's say someone they wanted to change their financial outlook. And this is the problem with what we've been conditioned to do, is we think about something we want and then we look at our current results. Bad idea. Because we don't have the belief system that would create the thing that we desire. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Because at the moment we try to think about what we want, automatically our mind thinks about all of the reasons why we can't get it.
Right, exactly. And so we sum up, well, if I could have had that, I would have had that. No, because it's the belief system that we've carried up until this point that are dictating our results. Right? So we think about what we want. We have to give no attention to how, but we have to see ourselves in that place and imagine. So let's say it's a bank account. You want to make, I don't know, $100,000 or something. Well, you can always like take your bank statement, white out the amount that's in there, and write $100,000. That's going to help your imagination. And so you just like, how would I feel if this was real right now? Or, for some people that may be a little bit, there may be a millionaire on here who'd be like, that would be horrible, so they would have to do like, 10 million or 100 million, but it can go both ways. It plays again. That's the law of relativity, but you play this scenario out in your imagination and it will physically change your state of being. And now when you're in a different state, that you'll take different actions. And that is what's required. That's uncomfortable because it's not what we're familiar with. And so everything starts in the mind. But that's law of vibration, law of attraction.
That famous story of Jim Carrey, isn't there? That he wrote a $1 million check or post dated it to himself. Yeah. Yep. Fantastic. This is I've so enjoyed this this time. Just on a final note, one thing that sort of popped up in my head then is I asked you like sort of practical tips, and you sort of said about obviously people using their imagination. What specifically, like what's a recommendation? Like if someone wants to kind of truly like do some of this work, obviously it really helps to get a mentor, get a coach to help them start to put this into place. Mm-hmm. But how much time can someone think about putting in maybe each day or each week to actually start to work on some of this stuff?
Great question. That's awesome. Real quick, I will make a plug. I created something called a goal card app. That's free on the App Store. I would at least recommend, and what it is it's 3 cards. So you've got a goal card, and that's where you write out your goal in the present tense. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have or am this thing. The second card is an image card. So, to have something that you've never had, you have to be something you've never been. There's a German philosopher, Johann Goethe, said, in order to do something, you first must be something. So you write out in the present tense who you are. Because the only reason you're not that is because you've thought you're not that. That's it. And so you write that out and you listen to that. And then the third card is the self-confidence formula that Napoleon Hill gave us in Think and Grow Rich, the book. So there's 5 parts to that. But he says in that self-confidence formula, I will focus on the person that I desire to be 30 minutes a day. So that was his recommendation, 30 minutes. And you can do that from the image card.
Okay.
But then also you see that he says, I will fix my attention on my goal. And so the key again about the goal is daily looking at it, but also not just looking at it, seeing yourself with the imagination, having already accomplished that.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a great way just to kind of like summarize and finish up here is we talk a lot about goals, particularly with our members. And one of the things that I notice, and I full fail to this myself, is probably the number one biggest problem with goals is the whole set it and forget it thing, Yeah. And so if you truly have a goal, it has to be something that you repeatedly reflect on each day. Mm-hmm. And again, adding the visualization to it as well, and making it really real before it's happened, is just going to only help you leverage that law of attraction and that energy field, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll put some of those links that you mentioned, the app, and also, like I said, I love the acronym as well. And really, really enjoy this, Kevin. Any last words of wisdom, anything that you'd like to share? Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, so mindsetmastery.life, that's the website. There's a lot of things there. I created a planner for people to plan out, like it's called the Life on Purpose Planner. So, and that has the goal at the top of the page. Every day you write out your goal. And then you schedule your time, the things that you're going to do that are going to help you take you closer to your goal. That's the things that you focus on. And then obviously that's called the goal routine. And then you've got your soul routine, which is your mind, will, and emotions. So what are the things that you do to make you a better self that may not, determine that you're going to accomplish your goal faster, but studying something that's going to make you closer to the person that you've described yourself to be, working out, getting, your energy levels up, eating right, your plan for that, all of those things factor into that. And then there's a to-do section. So, the things that you have to do to sustain, your household, your life, all these things, mowing the lawn for people who have lawns, or, grocery shopping or whatever, but they're not going to accomplish your goal. And then lastly on there is a daily accountability that gets you to ask yourself this question. This is my last thing, and this would be my takeaway for your audience. Did I act or behave like the person I want to become?
Say that
That's the
again.
question. That's the question to ask yourself every single day before you end the day. Did I
Nice.
act today like the person I want to become? All of us know what we need to be doing to achieve the results that we want. For business people, it's those three things: the need for what you do, marketing and sales, the ability to do it, my ability to do what I'm doing. Am I getting better every day? And then am I fulfilling on customers? But for people who have a fitness goal, am I working out? Am I sleeping right? Am I eating the right things? Am I drinking water? Basic things. But so you ask yourself, yes or no? Did I act like the person I want to become? If the answer is no, can only be two things. One, there's not actually a desire to accomplish the goal. So the goal is probably misleading a little bit. It's something you should do, you should be, but you're not actually really wanting it. And then the other thing, if it is something you really, really want, but you're consistently answering no, it means there's a paradigm problem. There's a belief system issue that's getting in the way. And the belief is more powerful than what you know you need to do. And then that's when you want to work on that, specifically attack that with your mindset.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, amazing. What a great way to finish. Thanks again, Kevin. It's been an
Pleasure.
absolute pleasure. Love to do it again sometime. Take care.
Absolutely.